Hello everyone, welcome back to Matthew Sports Talk. This is part 2 of the episode today. Part 1 I posted a while ago. Actually, I filmed that about 12 hours ago. So that was filmed about 1:30 a.m. and here we are at 1:30 p.m. on September 15th of 2020. So the last part of the episode I talked pretty much all about football. Talked about my Minnesota Vikings and all the other action that went on week 1 of the NFL. There was one little point that I wanted to touch bases on, and that was about the Steelers-Giants game last night. And, yes, the Giants did all right, but their Saquon Barkley did struggle. He only got like 6 rushing yards. So when you only rush for that many yards and you're a star running back, your team's not going to win like that. So anyway. Moving on to the next couple of points of business. First of all, talking about my Minnesota Twins. They did very good over the weekend when they swept the Cleveland Indians. And then last night came, and last night was frustrating beyond all hell. They were. Sorry, I just want to pull up the stats again, just so that I say it right. Yep, 2 for 16 with runners in scoring position. They left 15 men on base, left them loaded twice. Both of the times Nelson Cruz came up and couldn't do anything. One of them he struck out, and then the other one he hit a light tapper to the shortstop, which that frustrated me because I expect Nelson Cruz to deliver on a bases loaded situation. And then, Taylor Rogers. Taylor Rogers has been really, really frustrating this year. I personally think he cannot be trusted in closing situations for the remainder of the season. He has blown more games than he has saved. As evident by his record, he has a 1-4 pitching record, which means that is at least 4 blown games. And I know there's at least one more because there's a game where Kenta Maeda almost had a no-hitter. He got put into that game, and the Twins had the lead, and he blew it. So, luckily enough, the Twins came back to win that game in extra innings, but still, he blew that one. So that's at least 5 games that he's blown that I know of. I'm sure if I go back, I can check. He probably has at least one more in there. And he has an ERA of almost 5. It's 4.84 right now. So, you got 3 other pitchers. You got Tyler Clippard, you got Matt Whistler, and you got Sergio Romo, all of whom are probably better closing pitcher candidates than Taylor Rogers right now. I think Taylor Rogers needs to be sent to the alternate site to get his head screwed on right. And recall Devin Smeltzer. Stop sending Smeltzer to the alternate site. Smeltzer is a solid guy, and he is a guy who can really eat up innings if your starting pitcher doesn't go that far in. So because Smeltzer is technically a starting pitcher, so if your starting pitcher only goes like 2-3 innings, you can put Smeltzer in, and he'll eat up 4 to 5 of those innings. So definitely will help you save bullpen, your arms in the bullpen. So that's my 2 bits on that. And they play again tonight. Curious what the pitching matchup is going to be. We have Dobnak, who he's been alright this season, but he's kind of regressed a little bit the past couple of games. He has a pitching record 6-3 with 3.61 ERA, and he's taking on a guy named Dunning, who is pitching records of 1-0 and 2.70 ERA. I wonder, I'm just curious. Dane Dunning, that's his name. 20 innings pitched, so he hasn't pitched a whole lot. 4 games, 20 innings pitched, 21 strikeouts, so, he hasn't had that big of a sample size, so we'll see. And the way things are right now, well, actually, before I get to that, since my last reiteration talking about the Twins was back in 2018. A lot has changed since then. And I just recently watched some of my old Matthew Sports Talks episodes, so I wanted to reflect on what I said back then. And I I am surprised how much I got right. Back then I remember saying, try to sign Dallas Keuchel or Nelson Cruz. They signed Nelson Cruz. I'm very, very happy about that. And I criticized that Rocco Baldelli was not going to be a good manager out of the gate. I was wrong. He was very, very good last season. Last season I would say is probably the best season the Twins have had, in my opinion. I mean, of course, losing to the Yankees once again in the playoffs is not fun, but you won over 100 games, and you set the MLB record for home runs by a team in a season. So, yeah, as they were ever so called the Bomba Squad. Yeah, they haven't had as successful of a season this year hitting home runs, but, I mean, they still hit a good number every now and then. And, I mean, if I pull it up, if you give me 1 second. I mean, they're only tied for 5th in team home runs. I mean, at the top is for this season, and they are playing a condensed season, so it's going to be slightly different. At the top is the Dodgers with 90, and tied at number 2 is the Braves and the Padres with 83. 4th, White Sox 78, and tied for 5th with the Reds is the Reds, obviously, and us at 74. So still pretty good. And Nelson Cruz, he is an ageless wonder. I mean, it's just amazing. He can still just, seeing 323, has 16 home runs, and he has 32 RBIs. So there's that. So yeah, going back, I mean, obviously the Twins losing last night means that they're now 2 games behind the White Sox in the race for the Central. And the way that they set up the postseason this year, I mean, it's expanded. There's going to be 8 teams rather than 5. Right now, the Twins would be the 4th seed, and they would play the Blue Jays in the first round. And I think the AL is wide open. I mean, if you get home field advantage, one of those top 4 spots, you could, anything could happen. I mean, the top 4. I mean, right now, White Sox are number 1, Rays number 2, A's number 3, and Twins number 4. And I think any of those teams could win the AL this year. On the NL side, it's a little bit different. I mean, you got the Dodgers number 1, the Cubs number 2, the Braves number 3, and the Padres number 4. I still see the Dodgers as somewhat of a front runner, but who knows? I mean, the Padres have been surprising this year. Braves have been pretty good. So yeah, I mean, I predicting baseball, as you know, is probably one of the hardest things ever, even with a shortened season when it's only 60 games. But maybe you're wondering, I got Twins Pride keychain. So yeah, and let's do a little quick rundown of what happened last night or yesterday in the major leagues. So yeah, the Twins lost 3-1 to the White Sox. The Pirates and the Reds had a doubleheader where they both played 7. So, another thing I wanted to address was the new rules for this season because of the shortened schedule and because of the concerns for player health. I agree with most of them. I think the 7-inning doubleheaders are good. I think the universal DH is very, very good. That should stay. Universal DH should stay. And then the guy starting on second and extra innings, I'm on the fence about that. I mean, I'm not opposed to having a guy on a base to start off extra innings to try to shorten games. But on second, I mean, that seems a little bit too easy. But, whatever. So yeah, Reds swept the doubleheader against the Pirates. 3-1 and 9-4. The Marlins beat the Phillies 6-2. Mariners. The Mariners and the Athletics split their doubleheader. Mariners won the first game 6-5, and the Athletics won the second game 9-0. Brewers and the Cardinals also had a doubleheader. As you can see, the COVID has been a problem in the MLB this season. If you don't obviously already know that. Brewers and Cardinals split their doubleheader. Brewers won the first game 2-1 in 8 innings. And Cardinals beat the Brewers in the second game 3-2. The Orioles smacked the Braves 14-1. Wow, that's pretty surprising. And the Padres beat the Dodgers 7-2. So yeah, that's, like I said, the Padres pretty surprising, and right now they are only a game and a half behind the Dodgers in the NL West. So I mean, it's actually still pretty wide open for both leagues. I mean, so until the season wraps up, I'm not going to go into trying to predict who's going to win the World Series or the playoffs or anything like that. So, all right, moving on from baseball. Just going to do a couple quick checkups on the NBA and the NHL. Since they're both in playoffs, it shouldn't take very long. So, before that, college football. So, the Big Ten obviously decided to postpone their season, but they are talking about having them play later this fall.
We probably will. This is the strangest thing that any of us have seen in a long time. On August 11th, the Big Ten shut down. A week later, the commissioner of the Big Ten, Kevin Warren, said, we're done. And now here, 5 weeks to the day, there seems to be a sense that they're coming back. And the obvious question, what has changed? What has changed is rapid testing has improved the ability to conduct proper testing, and there's also less of a concern about myocarditis, which seemingly shut the Big Ten down in the first place.
So yeah, as you can see, the Big Ten is considering restarting their football season, which I think would be good. I didn't know the Minnesota Golden Gophers were going to be ranked 19th before this all started, so I wonder what happened after that, because obviously they did not play. Just pulling up the rankings right now. Yeah, there's a lot of teams that dropped. A lot of teams that got pushed in. So I'm not going to go into very great detail about that, but I understood the reason to postpone the season. I mean, at the time, you couldn't really have anything definitive in terms of rapid testing. But I think the NFL is going to be a great springboard for college football when it comes to COVID testing, because, I mean, they just started their season, so it'd be interesting to see if an outbreak does happen in the NFL, which I wouldn't be surprised if it did. How that progresses through a team. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to see how that works in the NFL. Because as it is shown in the MLB, if anybody tests positives on the team, they shut that team down for a couple of days, which means games get postponed and have to be made up later if possible. So it's more of a headache in the MLB rather than the NFL, where in the NFL, I mean, most teams you have a week in between games, so if you really, really had to make up a game, I could see them inserting somewhere in that week. Or if they both have the same bye week, you could play on that bye week. But, I actually don't know exactly what their plans are if they have to call off a game in the NFL because of a coronavirus outbreak. How would they make up that game? I don't know. They have not discussed that, so that would be very interesting. So anyway, the NBA, tonight you got Game 1 of the Eastern Finals. the Heat and the Celtics, and you got Game 7 of the West semifinals, the Nuggets and the Clippers, to determine who plays the Lakers. So yeah, there was a couple of surprises that happened during the NBA playoffs. Houston Rockets getting knocked out, that's definitely one. Even though they were playing the Lakers, I expected the Rockets to, play them pretty well, but they, I think they, let me double check. Yeah, the Lakers won 4-1, so yeah, that was definitely surprising. And yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks exiting in the East definitely was a surprise. I thought they would go deeper, but yeah, no, that was definitely a surprise. But of the teams remaining, I would say the team with the best chance to win the NBA Finals this year would probably be the Lakers. Because I don't see the Clippers or the Nuggets challenging them on the West side, and then on the East side you either got the Celtics or the Heat, and I mean they'll play them pretty well, but I think the Lakers probably are going to get this one. And then very quickly touching on the NHL. Last night the Stars beat the Dallas Stars beat the Vegas Golden Knights 3-2 to win the West 4-1. So we know the Dallas Stars would be the representative for the West in the Stanley Cup. And then tonight you got Tampa Bay Lightning and the New York Islanders in the East Finals. Tampa Bay leads 3-1, so most likely it will be Tampa Bay against Dallas. And in the Stanley Cup Finals. And I haven't really been paying much attention to hockey, honestly. I really don't pay attention to hockey or basketball unless, until like championship time, or unless the Minnesota teams are doing good. And, obviously the Timberwolves and the Wild didn't really do much this year, so that's why I haven't really been paying much attention to it. But, the Lightning have looked really good this year. They have 92 points. Let me pull up the standings. And Dallas had 82 points. So, I think probably the Tampa Bay Lightning will be the Stanley Cup champions this season. So that concludes today's episode of Matthew Sports Talk. I think my next episode would be probably in 2 days' time on Thursday the 17th. I'll be talking about what's happened with the Minnesota Twins since today. Obviously, they would have played 2 games, maybe 3 games. So we shall see when I decide. I might film it Thursday morning, or I might film it Thursday night. We'll just have to see. And then I'll also do a preview of the second week of the NFL with my game predictions, and give a rundown preview of the Vikings versus the Colts. So, thank you for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Feel free to leave comments. I am willing to improve on anything you guys suggest. So please leave constructive comments. Also, in case you haven't noticed, you probably definitely noticed a change in the video quality. The last time I shot this back in 2018, I had a really, really good quality camera, but financially, because of coronavirus and everything, I have obviously had to sell that camera. So I'm now filming this on my laptop, and hopefully one day I'll be able to get a nice camera again and be able to shoot some nice HD video for you guys for this. So until next time, this is Matthew Hammelman signing off.